How's it going? My name is Ryan, I'm 16 years old, and I'm the drummer for the Wool Band here at the Kids' Home. I love to listen to very groovy family music, and that's why I think the family people who make music are important. When 3 or 4 people get together to make music, sometimes they become a band, and that's what happened here in our home. Jazz, Andy, Eli, and I all started practicing together and writing new songs, and before we knew it, we were a band, and it's been really groovy. We had the opportunity to play at the Woodstock Festival, and that was a really groovy experience. Okay, guys, whoever wrote the script, groovy is not cool anymore, please.
Okay, cut!
We had the opportunity to play at the Woodstock Festival, and that was a really swell experience. No.
Cut! Go.
We had the opportunity to play at the Woodstock Festival, and that was a really cool experience. Are you guys cool? Is not a cool word.
Okay, cut!
We had the opportunity to play at the Woodstock Festival, and that was a really far out experience. Are you guys serious? I'm not in the 60s anymore.
Okay, cut! Yeah, it's fine. Cut off, you zoom down a little bit.
Oh?
Yeah, like right there. But there's too much space over the head. Cut more space off of his head. There you go. Okay.
But then his head goes over.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, it
I hate it
doesn't.
when their head goes over.
No.
Like that? Like when
Yeah.
the head's chopped off?
No, yes, that it's not. Now it's not chopped off.
We had the opportunity to play at the Woodstock Festival, and that was a really wonderful experience. In case you haven't seen any footage of us playing at Woodstock, here's a little clip of our band playing on stage. If it looks like it's a lot of fun to be in a family band, that's because it is a lot of fun, and it gives us the opportunity to sing about Jesus. While we were at the Woodstock Festival, we talked with some of the other band members and asked them to give us their advice on how to play their instruments. When we got home, we put the material we filmed together into these programs. We hope you enjoy watching, and we also hope that this will inspire you to get your own family band together.
Basically, there's different bands. You can have a three-person band, you know, well, for rock anyway. You can have your bass player, your electric guitar player, and your drummer. You wouldn't be able to get fancy with the lead. You know, you could do what Hendrix did, which not many people can do, the lead and rhythm at the same time. A good band is a 4-person band. You got your rhythm, your lead, your bass, and your drums. Even better is acoustic guitar or a pedal where they could switch back and forth from clean to distortion for those nice styles of not just plain grunge, you know, but also, you know, stuff that builds up and captures you. So basically, let's model our thing after a 4-person band. You need to start off with the right people. If you're with the wrong person or persons, you're not going to get anywhere, period. You're not. You need to get the right people, and you need to know that they're doing this for the right reason, that they're not just going to try to look good. You need to start off with the right people, someone that's not going to show off, and you need to make sure they're there in heart with you, and that they're in the family for the reason that you are, which I hope is to win souls.
As putting a band together is mainly like, I guess, yeah, like, because often, like, you'll hear teens talking about family music and how they have a desire for new stuff and stuff like that. And even some jams have come out about, you know, writing new songs and stuff like that. So, you know, after a while it comes to a point where you have to realize, you know, we are the family, so if we want to do something about it, we can do something. So we're trying to do something, I guess, for the family, for other young people that, you know, make music that they like and they'll enjoy and be, you know, edified and inspired by. Also, at the same time, you know, one thought we had of using it was as a way to witness. You know, if you did public performances and stuff like that, and you would try to use it as a way to witness and meet people and yeah, and continue doing missionary work in that way.
And then take it from there. And then you need to have unity. If you clash with anyone in your band, that's not going to work. You need to have unity. You need to be able to get along with everybody. You need to be like a marriage. You need to be tight. You need to be able to take correction from your band members. If they tell you something sounds bad, you need to have an open mind and listen to them.
I guess the reason that there hasn't been more of a band ministry in the family, as opposed to all the studios producing all the music, is that well, for one thing, having a band takes a lot of energy, and it's, you have to get the people together, and it takes work, it takes some time, and I guess God bless Godfrey and Voss. They've had the energy to pursue it and have a desire to see it done, and I know our young people just totally love it, and it's been great. And so I would say for sure, I think if it's something that's a need for our young people, we should definitely do it, and it would be exciting. And I think I would definitely be someone there that would be a part of that, for sure.
Then, once you get along together and you have your band and the right people who you know are sold out to the Lord and family, then there's the technical music side of things. I'd start off with the drummer. He needs to not freak out all the time. he needs to tone down and not blah. That's fine for when you're ending a rock song, or in the middle of a rock song or a drum solo.
How you guys doing? God bless you. We're just doing a short little couple clips on a little bit of info that might be helpful if you're trying to learn drums or already learning drums. Just want to go through a couple things really quick. Starting from if you're just a beginner to maybe some stuff that can be helpful even if you're already playing for a while or even intermediate. First thing we want to cover is stick grip, which is really quick. There's two different ways to hold your sticks. This is traditional. Helps you to get a nice crack on the snare. And then this is match grip. When you play a match grip, you need to make sure that the back of your hands are level, almost like if you had a cup of water or something bouncing on your hands. And if you're doing any kind of ghost notes or anything, any kind of central, make sure you're not twisting your wrist, but you're using the stick bounce to get it going up and down, and keep the sticks moving straight up and down as much as possible, not a whole lot of lateral motion. That gives you the most control. And one thing I want to point out right here, since we're talking about the fundamentals, is if you already just get on a drum kit, well, you just want to get up there and just be a rock star instantly and just start grooving, But it's really good to pay attention to the fundamentals first, all the little details, rudiments, which are like a drummer's guitar scales, basically. The first thing, probably the hardest rudiment to do, believe it or not, is a single stroke roll, which is just right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, just like that. Because it doesn't use any stick bounce. It's pretty much all your wrists. To get it going fast and even, it's one of the toughest. But it can be played effectively. It's amazing. It can sound like a double stroke. It can sound like a triplet, which we won't get into, but it's pretty cool. A double stroke roll, if you're doing any of your rudiments, you should play them open first, which is slow. Try to make sure your hits are as close as to the same volume, and then you can speed them up. And then slow them back down again when you start feeling like you're tensing up, to relax, and then start all over again and go faster. You can do them a lot faster than that. That's just a basic pattern. That's a single stroke roll. It's a very important one. You use it in a lot of fills. The next most important probably is a double stroke roll, which is left, 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 right and left mixed up here. Left, left, right, right, or you can start right, right, left, left. But it's important also to not turn your wrists and to make sure that you use the balance in the stick. So you're controlling the stick basically, and when you're swinging your sticks, you're not pushing them into the drum. It's like swinging a hammer. You let the hammer do all the weight for you. You know, you use the hammer's weight. You don't have to sit there and push it in. And when you want the stick to go back down, you just stop its upward motion and make it go down again. It's all in the wrist. A double stroke roll open would sound something like this. Start closing it up. Close it up real far by moving your sticks real low to the snare drum and keep it going. You can speed it up by bringing your hands up. Like that. You can start out with your hands kind of high from the drum, using the stick bounce, and to close it up, you just slowly bring your hands closer to the snare drum, and then it just gets quieter and quieter, or tighter and tighter, or closed as they call it, which is fast, double stroke roll. And to practice a double stroke, to get them kind of separated like that and sound full and rolling, a lot of people just do a push roll, which is pushing the drumsticks into the drum. But if you get the bounce and the accent on the second, which is a little technical, but you can practice it like this, doing triplets, which is a 1-2-3 pattern, 2 hits on this hand and 1 hit on this hand. And so forth, and you do it the other way around as well. That's how you practice getting your double stroke separated, and then you get a nice smooth roll. That's a very important one for drum fills, stuff between hi-hat and snare. Stuff like that. And we'll go over one more real quick, which is a paradiddle. Very important. You can count it off in a pattern like right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, or you can count it off in a paradiddle. And you usually swing paradiddle. Paradiddle, paradiddle. And what I mean by swinging it is you accent the single stroke. That's the first stroke, is a single one. That's a paradiddle. Sing it in your head. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. You can incorporate that into a groove. I'll do a simple just quarter note on the bass drum. Gives it a real funky kind of a sound. If you speed it up and with a rim shot, you can do stuff like this. Stuff like that. Kind of breaks it up. Neat. You can do a paradiddle between toms and a snare. That kind of makes a neat roll. It's kind of cool. And then if you do it slow as well, practice everything you do slow. Everything. As slow as you can until you've really got the hang of it and your brain is accustomed to switching sides and everything. It takes a lot of coordination. So that's the basics right there. I made the mistake of just getting up there and grooving as soon as I got a drum set, and later in life when I started taking lessons, I had to break a lot of bad habits. So it was a lot harder for me to learn. So if you really pay attention to these things, and I'm not even still that good with the technical side, but it's really, really important. If you're really interested in doing it as a ministry in the family, it's really important that you invest in the talent properly and wisely, so the Lord will bless you with more, which is really important. Okay, maybe I'll just explain a little bit more about what an accent is, which I didn't do. An accent on a single stroke roll, which breaks it up. If you did a single stroke roll, like I said, straight, it'd be like this. Basically right, left. An accent, all an accent is just a slightly harder hit. So you can alternate that harder hit, increasing the volume. That's what an accent is, just basically increasing the volume. And you can do a single stroke roll, increasing the volume with accent on the right hand and the left hand, every other one, and it brings it into a triplet, like I said before, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's exactly the same thing as this, except I'm making 2 of the hits stronger. Another thing, basic grooves and variations. the difference between quarter notes, 8 notes, and 16th notes. We'll just go over that really quick. We won't get into reading the notes or anything, but if you count them off in your head, a quarter note would be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. Say a quarter note on the hi-hat would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever speed you're doing it at. It's how many notes you fit into each measure. And so a quarter note beat. We'll do the same exact beat with 16 notes, quarter notes, and 8th notes. We'll start with quarter notes. Simple beat. Basically the bass drum, if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4 in your head, the bass drum would be 1, snare would be 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 with quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple groove. It's the basics. That's how it starts. You can add variations later. But if you count them off like that in your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's played with feeling, even a simple beat like that for rock or anything can be really cool, especially if it's like with an open hi-hat. And now with 8 notes you count them 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You're still counting 4, but you're putting an and in between each, and that turns out to 8 for the measure, which is 8 notes. Same beat with an 8 note. Bass drum would still be on 1, snare would be on 2 and 4. So it's like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Speed it up a little bit. Even a simple beat like that sounds really good. Sixteen notes are counted off almost the same way, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you add a E and A. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Bass drum and snare drum are on the same beats. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's 8 notes with 2 hands, and 16 notes: 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. So quarter notes are 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 notes are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 16 notes are 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. It's the same exact time measure, but you're just fitting more notes into it. That's the basics of all the grooves. You can add variations later, and just basically have fun and eat real well. Takes a lot of energy. There's one more thing real quick, which is the single stroke roll that I showed you first. If you accent anything like that and you turn it into like every other one you accent, turns it into a triplet pattern. A triplet is counted like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Jazz has lots of triplets in it. Even rock can have triplets in it if you do, triplet fills, which kind of makes it breaks it up a little bit, makes it sound almost a little bit funkier. That single stroke roll done straight up, just right, left, it sounds like this. And I'm going to do it accenting every other one, right, left, going between right and left. I'll do it slow first. Sounds totally different, right? That's great for fills, even slow. It's a great fill. Sounds complicated, but it's really quite simple when you break it down. Basically drumming, there's lots of simple things. Sounds complicated when you speed it up. So if you can get it slow and real ingrained, and once you play it fast, it's pretty mind-boggling. And then you'll start being able to figure out different things too as well. Okay, drum fills are important in the song because they add an expression and a feel to the music. They're also very dangerous and they're risky. When I play, I'm kind of a rhythmic risk taker. Sometimes they don't always turn out or resolve or end on the beat they're supposed to, and it can throw the whole band off. The tendency with a young drummer, or a new drummer I should say, even myself still to this day, is when you start doing a fill and the song is really feeling good and grooving, and you do a fill, you speed it up. That's the tendency because you want to accent. It speeds up and it throws a different feel into the music. So you got to be real careful. I still have to watch it. You have to concentrate a lot, and lots of prayer as well. It needs to go into it. Drum fills are great. There's all sorts of fills. You can do fills between the kick drum and your hands. You can do single stroke fills. You can do simple stuff. Even that single stroke roll with the accents works really good. You can fit your fill in basically anywhere you want in that measure of if you're doing quarter notes or 8 notes, you can fit them in there. It has to resolve, though, back on number 1, which is the count. Unless you're doing like a jazz song, which we won't even get into because we don't really use that a whole lot in family music. But in a good straight up, poppy rock beat, if you start your fill on 1, it's got to go all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4, and resolve on 1. Okay, I'll do a full length fill in context here with a simple quarter note beat. So I'm counting like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even start that fill on 2 if you wanted to. Instead of starting it on 1, you can start it on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Start it on 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. It's a shorter fill. It has to resolve good and steady and hard. You don't even have to hit a cymbal to end a fill. I'm going to incorporate some bass drum here. I have a double bass pedal, which you can also get into doing single strokes and double strokes with, which is really a lot of fun. It's for sometimes a lot of heavier music, but you can do some pretty quick, fast stuff with it. It sounds good. I'm going to do real simple stuff here, simple groove, and we'll try to do something in here. Hopefully the time signature will be right. I don't know if I'll be able to count it because I'll be concentrating, but here it goes. With a double bass pedal, play it with your right and left foot. When you play your hi-hat, you usually kind of keep your foot closed on it, and you open it for accents. When I play a double bass, when I do a full-on beat, it's usually a pretty heavy song, so I have the hi-hat wide open, and just let it roll like that. If I want to get something in between, just kind of keep my toes on the hi-hat and keep it closed, and I use my heel on that left pedal for fast fill. Stuff like that, and you can even go in between them, put your foot on between both pedals and kind of get this kind of a sound with a stomp. Stuff like that. Exercises, you can also do it like that with the hi-hat and the fills, which makes it sound kind of cool. This is called a water fill, which is just an exercise for moving around the drum kit. It works for getting you to move back and forth. A water fill basically is just singles all the way around. 1, 2, 3. You can incorporate the bass drum to it. It's a good coordination practice. And you can incorporate both bass drums and then the hi-hat, so it kind of offsets it a little bit. Something like that. It was a little offbeat, but you get the point. Yeah, so that's pretty much a double bass. A lot of people can play fast licks with a single foot too, as well. Do doubles and triplets, Single bass. Or you can do it with double. However you want to do it. It just really depends on your taste and your style and what you want to get into. It is a lot to remember and to incorporate into your coordination repertoire, but it's a lot of fun. Tuning drums, again, there are people that go on the real technical side and they tune the drums to a root note for a song, and then when they record, they tune it to the root note for another song. Basically, if you just have a good, solid tuning on your drums, the best way to do it is to loosen the heads all the way on each individual drum. It takes some time, so you got to make sure you have some time on your hands. Loosen the drum heads, top and bottom. What I do is usually take the drum off the stand and sit it on my lap and just tighten them all up evenly. You go with a crisscross pattern, almost like you're drawing a star. So you get all the lug nuts and you do the same exact turn for each, whether it's a quarter turn, whether it's a full turn, until you get it tightened up. Don't tighten them too much. You don't want them sounding like timbales or cowbells. You want them to ring a little bit. And sometimes people tune their drums, they have a real nasty ring, which is called an overtone. It means there's harmonics inside the drum and it's making the heads rattle after a long time after you hit them. And they're kind of phasing and the sound is kind of not so good, especially if there's mics on the drums. The best way to do it, tighten up the bottom head first to a good tightness where you can, it's a little bit springy. And then you tighten up the top head, doing that star pattern, making sure every lug is pretty much to the same tension. And then put your hand over the bottom and hit the top softly around the edges. Make sure it sounds something like, just go around the edges. And if they sound pretty much close to the same pitch, then you have an even tension. And then you listen to that little ring. Put your hand over the top of the head and hit the bottom one. They have to be almost exact, if not close to the same pitch. And there you get the full tone and ring of the drum. And don't tighten your toms up too tight. Just let the head ring. A good drum with good wood sounds really beautiful when it rings out. Snare drums, I like to tune mine up pretty high and you get a good crack on it. And then my toms, I like them to be real boomy, so I don't tune them up all that tight. Any other questions about tuning? If it's hard to hear that note, just kind of feel them too, with the tension. If that feels about the same, then it'll be okay. And if it's ringing a little funny when you hit it, then you have to kind of adjust and get the heads to about the similar tension. If you have a big room with lots of echo, there's really not that much you can do other than just make sure they're all tuned up and they sound pretty good. You don't want your toms sounding exactly the same. They got to have a little bit of a difference to them. That's what gives you your variety. You don't really have to get it too technical about it. I've gone both ways as far as tuning to root notes of songs, and to the well-trained ear it might make a little bit of a difference, but it really doesn't matter all that much. If they have a good solid tuning, and I tune to the drum. If I have a drum kit that has a really big toms and really big sound, I'll tune to the drum. I'll just get a basic nice tension, even tension all the way around, and pretty much the size of the drum takes care of the sound and the tone for you. So if you get both heads matching in tension, it's pretty much all you need to worry about. A lot of people muffle their drums when they're playing. A lot of people do it for the reasons of if they're in a small venue playing, it's going to be real loud. It cuts a lot of the overtones. It's not as harsh on the ears. You can take, one thing I've done is you take old drum heads and you cut a ring and just lay it around the drum, and it would cut off most of the sound, most of the ring. It'll make it real. Here, I'll take the snare off here on the snare, and you can just kind of hear basically what it would sound like if I just hit it regularly. It's got a ring. If you had a muffling ring on it, it would sound a little drier than. Can you hear the difference? I don't know if the mic's picking it up, but it does ring out. And I have these little things here that were quite inexpensive. They're called moon gels. It's a little tiny piece. It looks like those sticky hands that you get in a Walmart 25-cent machine. You could probably get those and it would work just the same. And you just stick them along the edge. When I'm playing live, I usually don't put these on the drums unless there's mics and it's in a real echoey room. It cuts out some of the ring on the toms. You can even use them on the snare. It would kind of cut out the ring and make it a little drier. I don't know if you can really hear the difference in this room so much, but it does make a difference. We used these on Simon Black's album to get some of the rings out of the drum when they were under the mics in the studio. And you can also do duct tape, toilet paper, napkins, whatever. It usually kills a lot of the drum sound and makes them a little more dead, which I like the brightness and the ring of it, but when you're just learning, it's hard to use the full sound of the drum, so it's okay to muffle them a lot if you want to, especially if you're trying to be quiet. Family homes are pretty packed sometimes. There's lots of people in them, and if there is a drum kit in the home with all the kids and everything else that's going on, it can be pretty noisy, and it might even bother the occasional person if you're getting too loud and rambunctious with it. You just kind of have to, the best way to do it is if you have a little spot that's secluded and you can soundproof it and you can play full on, which is nice. But other ways you can, there's pads that are available to put on the top of the drums that pretty much deaden a lot without killing too much of the drum bounce. You can, well, cymbals, you can get pads for them to quiet them down. They have little rubber pads. It's almost like a mouse pad material. If the pads are too expensive, you could probably almost find some stuff, big thick pieces of felt. You can even stuff some down pillows inside all the drums and hang some hand towels over the cymbals, just make sure they don't fall off. And it works pretty good. Or what I do sometimes when I just want to practice at home is I get a little rubber pad or a mouse pad on a hard surface and connect my pedals and beat on a briefcase or something like that and just kind of go over the fundamentals like that. That works too. Drives my wife crazy, but when you got to bring the drum set in the bedroom, you can only fit a few things, so that's, and it works pretty good that way for the most part. And then, if you can get outside every now and then on a WNR or whatever in a nice place where you can let it rip, it's a lot of fun. Being missionaries in our lifestyle, we move around a lot, and it's not the compactest of instruments. You just kind of have to pray and see, if you really want to get into it as a ministry in the family, and if you're going to invest in it, and the Lord will always make a way for you to carry them around. These drums right here have been around the world twice with me, Europe, Indonesia, and the Lord supplied to get them over there every time when we didn't have the means to pay for excess baggage or anything like that. It's worked out pretty good. But also, in some ways, it can be a blessing not to have a drum kit. If you just have a practice pad, you'll get the fundamentals down really, really good. So by the time you get on a drum kit, you can sound pretty good. Okay, another thing is about getting cymbals. Cymbals are very, very expensive, and it's really easy to get ripped off. If you can find some place that will give you a discount and you can provision, they're really good. Cymbals, it's really up to every drummer's ear what he likes to hear on his kit and how it sounds and what he likes to play and the positioning of them. I like a lot of cymbals. It makes for a lot of expression and different sounds. You got splashes, which are like for real fast accents. A nice good big crash is really nice to have. You can even use it as a ride if you don't have a ride. Riding means you just kind of... You can even ride on a crash if you have a crash and don't have a ride. Sounds good, and they also sound good when you hit them. They're good expressions. Nice, crisp, clear cymbal. You don't want something that sounds like a gong or like a trash can lid if possible. But, if that's all the Lord supplied, then, got to be thankful for it too. Whatsoever state I'm in, therewith to be content. I played for many years before I even had a drum kit when I was learning. I had cardboard boxes, and I made my own drumsticks out of dowel rods. So, it's just a matter of, what you do with what you got.
you guys doing? I'm John with the Creature Band at this moment, and we're just here to talk about a few different maybe fills you could try in your drumming, or different other different beats that you could try drumming. We'll try to make it simple. A question that some people have was different rolls you could use. There's always just your single stroke roll. You could try 3 on each tom, 3 on the snare, 3 on each tom. It's small tom, large tom, floor tom, and it goes something like this. And that's a basic roll that a lot of people use. They're doing a normal song, and it's kind of like it gets you like a groove. It's kind of a grooving roll. It goes with a lot of different styles of music, of course, faster for some, slower for others. But, you can do it like, what?
4 on each is good too.
Yeah, there's also, 4 on each. You can even just do straight up on the snare. You can do a lot of things with just syncopated. You can interchange with different toms and stuff. An example with maybe switching it around is like, single stroke, do like that. Nothing, no paradiddles, nothing. It's just all single. Very simple roll. It's just up to your creativity to see what toms or snare you want to hit to make a different sound. It makes a different sound every time. You do the same single stroke roll on the snare. It doesn't sound as fancy as that, but it's a roll. There's, it gives you a different feel. It gives you, can even give you a different style, be for different style of music. Offbeat is a beat that's not on the downbeat. You have your different counts, your 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 and 4 would be the snare. The offbeat would maybe come in, it comes in between the 1 and the 2, or it comes in between the, the 3 and the 4. It's more of just like instead of like, it's like, you can just be going like this. And then you just go into offbeat. It's basically, for me, when I never learned a lot about the technical side of drumming. Me, it was just kind of going for the feel, letting the Lord, do what He wanted, and I kind of just learned by ear and the feel of the music. So I was just sitting there, and instead of doing what felt right to do, just a solid downbeat, I figured just to try to throw in something weird, and it came out to be an offbeat, and I was like, wow, I know how to do an offbeat. And that's how things came along, pretty easy. Just kind of try weird things, try new techniques, just, open your mind, don't limit yourself to little things, open your horizons, open the kind of music you listen to different styles, get different, tips from each one. There's so much you can learn. I wouldn't limit yourself to just one thing and, I only listen to this style of music, because you won't get very far. Listen to a few different styles, and you'll be surprised how much more you'll pick up. It's not holding the stick tight, and getting that. It's letting the stick kind of flop, but with a controlled flop, and you kind of control the bounce. You control the bounce, you feel the bounce, and then you shut them up. and you can get different style rolls out of that, and makes the music a lot of fun. A lot of drummers also have a question about the hi-hat, when to use it, when not to use it. And that also is a thing for the feel. A lot of drummers usually, if you want to make the sound heavier, they open up the hi-hat to give it more like a, it gives a more heavy feeling. For me, we're using the hi-hat like on a simple beat. I will usually open the hi-hat when I go down on the bass drum. So it's pretty easy. Here's an example. How I go down on the bass drum, at the same time I'm going down, the hi-hat opens up, and you're keeping your solid beat, and and then you close it. Very simple. The open hi-hat would come in for you're doing some heavy song, and you want to get more of like the heavy feeling. Sometimes your ride usually doesn't give you that heavy sound that you want, so a lot of drummers will turn to the hi-hat just to give it just a wailing. And here's an example of that. Whereas the ride might not give you that same, and I'll give an example with the ride now. You figure out which one you like better, and you add that style into your drumming. Drummers all have their different styles, and that's what makes the drummer unique about a band. So figure out your own style and have fun doing it. Sometimes when you're listening to family music, a lot of family music now is, with machines, because they don't have the time to get drummers in the studio, and it's not as easy. It's not as practical getting a drummer in the studio. But when you're listening to the drums, of course they don't sound as real, but they do try to make they try to make things real as possible, like what the drummer's doing. So it's actually pretty easy to follow along learning with family music. They try to make it as possible, like what a drummer can actually do. Of course you have your techno, that's totally impossible to follow. But your regular family rock songs are they're pretty basic to follow, and I would actually even suggest, starting with those. Just they actually start with they give you some pretty good things to follow with, and they make it pretty easy to learn. For practice, sometimes you have at home, you don't always have a bass player or guitar or someone to play along with. I never did. When I got a little older, I did start having my brothers play guitar for me and stuff. But first starting, I started off in my garage that was, turned into our bedroom. And I would just sit there and I would just sing the song to myself in my head and play along, because your memory is a very helpful thing. You remember a lot. You remember every little thing that the drummer was doing. And then sometimes I would sit down, I would have a tape recorder and a nice pair of headphones that doesn't let the sound in so much. And I would just wail away with that, and that was a very helpful way, actually. You just see if you can groove along on time with the song, and it really helps improve your skill. Also, playing your drums in your garage and having a metronome. I never practiced so much with the metronome, but definitely I suggest that you should definitely, if you're going to start learning drums, start now with a metronome, because it makes such a difference. A metal beat is just basically just getting heavy. You can use the same beats for lighter songs, but just get heavy with it. One song people have actually suggested me showing the beat for was "Who Said" by Godfrey, the song "Who Said They're Dead," and I will show you the beat to that song, and you can see if you can pick it up. It's very, very simple. All right, here it goes. Very basic beat, and notice how when I was doing the thing and I hit the cymbals were on an offbeat. And it's just basically getting you feel, following the music. If you have someone to play along with you, you can hear that the guitars are sometimes like, they're not always doing downbeats. It's kind of like, and you'll just sometimes follow what they're doing with the cymbal or something, and it really helps the music a lot. Song on Your Time, Your Time to Fight. I use a hi-hat, crazy thing that I do, and really I can't explain it. It's just basically the feeling. But I could show you, and you could see if you can cut it down. Maybe you'll learn it by just hearing it. So let's see if we can do it. Drummers are very hated, and you're probably not going to find too many people that are gonna want you to play. I guess the thing is just working out a schedule in your home. Working out, a time with the home where you can actually do the drumming. With me, it was easy when I first started because I was out in the garage and it was pretty soundproof. The neighbors didn't hear. We lived out in the country, Boondocks place, someplace, I don't know. But so no one ever heard. We never got any complaints. But I know a lot of other friends who were trying to start and they never got to play because, their home just didn't want it. It's just loud. It's rattling. But when I left home, I'd still got my practice time in, and I had the drum set up in the living room. But I just had to work it out with the home. And I guess the home just has to be kind of understanding of you if you, you show that you're serious about it and, of course, be loving and be respectful of everything that, the schedule. But, if you really want to learn the drums, your home has to agree with you all the way. They have to be behind you, otherwise it makes it really impossible. An issue that a lot of people have with drummers is they think that they're mean and out of it. But I'm standing up for my fellow drummers that we're very loving people. We like everything you like. We like girls, we like music, we just like to groove. And I guess for our constipated faces that we're making back here, we can't help it because we're getting so into the music that it just comes out on our face. But really we're thinking loving thoughts.
A question one of the guys here that's asked was about jazz drumming. I'm not an extremely good jazz drummer, but I have a basic understanding of how to count it off and how it's played. Jazz kind of swings rather than a straight up beat, which is like, jazz kind of has a swing to it, and you would count a jazz beat off. First of all, you need to learn to alternate between your hi-hat and your kick drum. Kick drum always being one. Basically like that. Get comfortable with that. That's kind of what gives it the swing. There's a swing. Just alternating back and forth. 1, 2, like that. That's the intro jazz right there. I wouldn't even worry about the left hand at first. Don't even worry about the left hand. Just get this down really well until you're comfortable with doing it. And jazz is counted off in triplets. Do those triplets with your right hand. You can do them on the hi-hat. Basically, you count it off like this. 1, triplet, 2, triplet, 3, triplet, 4, triplet, 1, triplet, 2, triplet, 3, triplet, 4. It's really easy. And when you put that in with the kick drum and the hi-hat doing that, at whatever tempo you want, it gives it that jazzy sound. Sound. A lot of jazz songs, for most of the song, just have that going on in between them, believe it or not. If you listen to jazz, a lot of them, just during all the instrument stuff, they go into that, and occasionally they have a little accent, like a little on the snare or a little roll. You can fill that in, and you can just kind of put it in wherever you want. It's kind of syncopated, offbeat. Learning jazz really helps you with offbeat stuff. I'll do a kind of a slow, swingy jazz beat with some accents and rolls on the snare in between the toms, and you can see what it sounds like.
Hi, my name is Gerardo, and I'm drummer from the Key Factor band. Okay, I've been playing for 9 years or 8, I don't remember. and I start with rock, and I was good and better. But then when you play rock, you are stuck. You don't have imagination, okay? And then you need to see another music, even if you don't like. You need to hear African, jazz, whatever kind of music to go your imagination, not just rock. It's not good playing when you're started just rock. You need to, and that's why I started. Okay, this is rock. You know, all the people knows rock. And it's the rock. All the rock is all the same, just fast and that's all. But it's different when you play jazz or African because every arm and foot is different. Like because you need to go when you are doing jazz or Latin every music. You need to have time to count. You can go with this and go. You can do it with you need something you can. And you need to do it 2 minutes to practice every day, and then it's 4, no 1, just 4, and this 1, 2, please, sorry, 2. Two times, and you need to do it, and then this 3 and 4. Like 2 minutes each one.
brings us to the end of part 1. We invite you to join us in part 2 where we'll cover the tips on how to play the bass, electric guitar, and keyboard. In the meantime, keep playing that groovy family music!